Good evening, VV Nation. My name is Ryan, and it is a pleasure, as always, to give you tonight's presentation. Now, tonight is a special presentation. It's actually my favorite stock in the entire database, and that is AMD. It's about time that I finally do a solo video on AMD itself. I talk about it a lot. I've been promoting this stock. If you've made money, go ahead and put some ones in the comments and let me know that you've made some money off this recommendation. Now, the big question is, it's had a big run up. It's now in the 170s. What is next? The only thing that's really driving this market right now is AI and the growth of AI chips. So we're actually going to compare it and see how it's stacked up against NVIDIA's H100 and H200 series chip. So that way we could see performance as well, look at market share. Now, this all being said here, I'm going to show you a couple articles. I'm going to dive into the VectorVest 7 system, and we're going to do a deep analysis on AMD. Well, it is hard to talk about AMD without mentioning NVIDIA because of the AI boom. And also, that being said, the companies are intertwined. The CEOs themselves are actually related, a cousin once removed. So that being said, if you're interested in AMD and you're interested to see the potential to make money with this company, stick around and let's get started. Now, here's an article this past August. You can see the title here, The Big Bottleneck for AI, a shortage of powerful chips. Now, again, this is August in 2023. Now, here's the important part. AMD, meanwhile, said Tuesday it expects to unveil its answer to NVIDIA's AI GPUs closer to the end of the year. Now, shortly after that article, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductors, which is the manufacturer of NVIDIA's AI chips, pretty much came out and said it cannot keep up with NVIDIA's red-hot AI chip demand. That's not a bad problem for NVIDIA, but it does allow other competitors to step into the space. Now, those two articles coming out in the fall, AMD shortly responded in the December, releasing its new M-Series 300 chip. Now, here's a nice chart of the global data center CPU market revenue by vendor. Now, you can see right here, we're comparing 2021 to 2022. Intel at 80% in 2021, dropped 10% the following year. Now, if you look at AMD, went from 11% to 19%, almost doubling year over year. And on top of that, you could see that 10% coming directly from Intel's market share. Now, here's a breakdown of the generative AI market share of leading vendors in 2023. Now, our focus is solely going to be on the data center GPUs right now. That's GPUs, that is correct, not CPU, but GPU. Now, these GPUs here are utilized in the large data centers that need to process information in order to create the AI revolution. Now, that being said, this came out December 2023, so it is very recent information, and this is IoT analytics here. If you don't know what IoT is, you know what? Type IoT in the comments section. I'll do a video on it, but it's a really great concept and the reason and driver of AI in the first place. Now, we can see here NVIDIA commands this space right now at 92%, while AMD is the only real competitor that they have here with any decent market share at just 3%. So you can see why that AMD has a lot of room to grow. Now, this is a chart of KBV research here and just shows the growth of data center GPU market worldwide. Now, this growth goes until 2030. You can see it started in 2019 at $6.8 billion, while projections and forecasts come in at $114 billion annually in 2030, which means it has a compounded annual growth rate of 32%. So even if AMD still stays at its 3% market share from the previous chart here, it'll still have a lot of room to grow. Now, I do realize depending on which research and forecast information you are looking at, the results will be different. However, they are all very positive going forward. So now let's break into the analysis of AMD itself. Now, AMD is down today just slightly at 1% here. And if we look at the price action compared to value, it is currently overvalued right now, trading at $176 compared to our metrics at $96. Not a bad thing, just saying that investors are willing to pay a premium for this position. Now, on top of that, we have RV and RS here. Those are our fundamental indicators. On a 0 to 2 scale, above 1 is favorable, below 1 is unfavorable. Now, if we take a look, fundamentals, impressive safety rating at 1.48, one of the highest in the database. If we look at our technical indicator here, relative timing, just looks at the short-term price trend, is above 1 right now, in favorable territory. So an uptrend at no surprise. VST, which is overall value, safety, and timing, phenomenal rating, one of the top rated stocks in our entire database, which tracks over 9,000 stocks. That being said, we do have a buy rating on this position currently. And if we look at its forecasted data, the growth rate in earnings sits at 19%, while the sales growth rate sits at a positive 10%. Now, I've got no crystal ball. I can't tell you what AMD is going to do in the future, but as long as it stays above this trend line with its origins dating back to last October here, with several touches finding some good support at this trend line right now. If it does break this trend line, I could see some support coming in at $150. Now, before I did mention its valuation here represented by this green line, and if we take a look here back on its low, the stock was currently trading at $93 while we only valued it at $30.37. Now, if we compare that to today, we can see the valuation has surpassed that price action from its low, currently sitting at $96, while the price action comes in at $176. Now, I did mention forecasted data before. We also have our forecasted earnings per share here. Nice pattern I like to see from lower left to upper right. We did have a hiccup last November. However, you can see that drop was quickly filled shortly after. Now, I do have on the chart NVIDIA here. You can see this company was also greatly overvalued, but look at this value line. See how it dramatically grew last summer? And we're seeing the same thing here with AMD. Now, just a few years ago, AMD was mostly only known in the gaming community. Now it's a common name, just like NVIDIA. Now, that being said, I've showed you a lot of information for my bull case when it comes to AMD, giving you a complete analysis of forecasted data, the VectorVest 7 software, and some very important headlines to take note of. Now, if you enjoyed this presentation, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already a member, so that way we can keep you updated going forward. Good night.
Hey, VV Nation, Glenn Tompkins here. Did you miss out on the Tampa 2-day investment seminar? Well, right now you can get access to the live recording from this event for only $195. That's right, folks, $195. You can get access to all the great presentations from instructors like Steve Chapp, Jerry D'Ambrosio, Jim Penner, Ron Wheeler, and yours truly. Folks, you just need to go to www.vectorvest.com/replay24. You need to do that right now.